In the middle of the night, in a bandit camp, this old, crazed dwarf summoned a unicorn that was followed by a legion of angels. Vague! Hi, I'm Maxwell. Prepare your butthole, Princess Jasmine, because you're about to enter a whole new world. This is a folder for 4th edition, technically, Dungeons & Dragons. And in this folder are just a few of my character sheets across my entire time playing D&D. One of my most famous characters of all time, Zault. Our DM brought together the biggest group ever in the history of all of our playing. 12 players at one giant marble table. Amongst them was me. I was playing just an old man named Pappy. He was senile. He didn't know what was going on. But I was also partially his co-DM. He would come to me with issues, and I'd help him figure out what the next step was if he needed to come up with something on the fly. And I was kind of table wrangler. But Pappy did not live very long. He was, a spell was cast on him, and he reverted back to his heroic young self, only to die of a heart attack moments later. So that gave way for a new character to show up. And so they said, "What do you want to play?" I said, "Well, I have an idea, but I don't have time to create a whole character sheet right now." So what I did was I took a sticky note. And the only reason I got away with this is because the DM knows that he can trust me to play this perfectly. I wrote a few stats. HP, AC, the 6 base stats. Nothing too crazy. I wrote a name, and I wrote a spell. The name was Zault, and the spell was called Vague. Looking at Zault Bootrock, at first glance, you wouldn't see anything really that much wrong with him. He didn't stand up very well. He's very easy to overlook. But the more you look at him, the more disturbingly out there he is. Zault was an old dwarf, very old, bald on top, and he had a big gray beard that for some reason grew up instead of down. And he kind of had a weird face, and he's always looking everywhere. He wore robes, simple, sandals, maybe one sandal. But in his hands, he clutched a leather-bound book that he never opened. He just held to his chest, kind of did his thing. As the story went on, it's a big party. Nobody was a main character. We're all in this together. But had some very interesting characters in there, and some of them really wanted to get to know more about Zault. And as they asked, I came up with more stuff, and that was his spellbook. He was a dwarven sorcerer. The arcane arts was inborn in him, and dwarves are not very keen on magic. They think it's, the devil's work. If it's not divine magic, it's wrong and should be, removed from our society. And so that's what had happened to him. And the arcane magic has gotten to his head, and so he's kind of a bit crazy. But he had a familiar, as sorcerers often do. Periodically, the party would see this spider crawl out onto the bald patch of his head from his nest that was inside his beard. And that spider talked. His name was Archimedes. And he spoke for Zault to the other members of the party. Archimedes knew Zault's origins insofar as where he had found him and how they had gotten to be with the party. But Archimedes' goal was to figure out more about Zault and unlock the secrets of his brain and why it was so messed up. Archimedes became a good friend of the paladin of the party. And as far as battling goes, Zault provided little more than distraction until he raised his book high in the air at key moments and screamed, "Wah!" say the name of his spell, Vague. And the beauty of Vague is that the DM could give me anything, and I could run with it. Zault didn't know what Vague would do. It would do something different every time. And the DM had a chart what he would roll onto. And one time, all that it did was Zault grew 6 years older, and his beard grew a little bit. At a key moment that sucks, but it was funny. Well, one particular day, our party had come up upon a group of bandits at their camp in the middle of the night. We had heard about these guys and we were trying to avoid them, but they were directly where we were trying to go for our current mission. And they had something at their camp that we needed. And as we came to find out, they also had a Minotaur. Our party was quite afraid of that Minotaur because he's very strong, and our party was kind of had already taken a few hits. So in the middle of the night, the two rogues decided that they were going to sneak into the camp and quietly, one by one, slit everybody's throats as they made their way through the camp. Well, because there's a group of 12 players, and because I am me, they realized that nobody had eyes on Zault. Zault had gone missing from their hideout. And while the two rogues were going through the party, Zault was shuffling through the bandit camp straight to the fire. And he sat down at a log and looked at the fire and picked at their food. And as the rogues were going through, they saw Zault and looked up, and Zault just waved. At some point, one of the players failed their checks, and people started waking up. And Zault doesn't have much consciousness in what's going on, but he does have an ability to sense danger. And when he realized that his friends were in trouble, he lifted his book and said, "Vague!" And what happened next is probably the most amazing thing in any campaign I've ever played. In the middle of the night, in a bandit camp, this old crazed dwarf summoned a unicorn that was followed by a legion of angels. The angels swooped down and slowly cut all of the throats of the bandits as they were waking up. The Minotaur rose up, started stumbling toward the fire, and the unicorn looked at it and slowly pressed its horn straight through the Minotaur, and it fell down dead. The rogues stared in absolute disbelief at what was going on as the blood-soaked unicorn comes over to Zault, nuzzles his face a bit. Zault pets the pretty horsey, and it and all of the angels fly back into the sky. I don't know what chart my DM was looking at. I don't know if he made this up on the spot, but Zault became the most memorable character in a 12-player party, and the only thing he had insofar as a character sheet was a sticky note.